Well, our next panel are going to discuss the very important matter of mind over matter. It's not an easy thing to achieve. It's about changing your mindset and in the process overcoming all sorts of anxieties and fear, and as ever, focusing on the positives. And our speakers on this panel are Niall O Callaghan from Healthy Ireland. It's an initiative by Cork County Council, and Niall is the coordinator. Also, we have someone who, if you ever have known anything about GAA, here in Cork especially, you will have heard the name of Dr. Con Murphy, now a retired doctor, but a GAA coach and selector. And our third guest, Alice Taylor, the author. But Alice can't be with us in studio today because she's cocooning at home. She did, however, invite our cameras into her house. Here she is.
My name is Alice Taylor, and I'm going to read an extract from A Cocoon with a View, which I wrote during cocooning, really. And this is from the chapter Home Alone. Am I cocooning or self-isolating? In today's climate, both words mean the same thing. But it's amazing the different picture each word paints in our subconscious. Isolation brings to mind punishment by solitary confinement, whereas cocooning paints a picture of self-caring and nurturing. Cocooning comes from the natural world of butterflies and beehives, and the dictionary defines it as to envelop in a protective and comforting way. Wouldn't that terminology make anyone feel better? So maybe we who are advised to do so may choose to think of cocooning instead of isolating. Perception is everything. We have been parachuted into a scary new place, and we're all endeavouring not to be overwhelmed. But if we overthink things, that is exactly what will happen. Our thoughts could so easily overwhelm us. The coronavirus may attack our bodies, but if we let it invade our minds, it could destroy our sense of well-being, which could well make us paranoid. So we are involved in two battles, the physical and the mental. Now, having ascertained the correct amount of necessary information, I feel that an overload of unnecessary news could damage our sense of well-being. So maybe better not to immerse ourselves in a constant flow of coronavirus news. Best to keep ourselves occupied doing selected projects, as there is therapy in doing. Now, therapy in doing, while I was cocooning and still gardening, I found the garden was just wonderful. You're never finished in a garden, really. And in March, when we all had to go into cocooning or isolation, whatever you like to call it, I was so glad that the previous autumn I had planted lots of tulips, and then they were out in March and April, and when things were tough, they were my cheerleaders, really. And now that we're at the end of September into October again, I'm planting bulbs for next spring, when hopefully everything will be better, but it will be good to have them. And so during cocooning, I wrote a bit. I wrote this and I wrote other things, and I painted. No, I'm not a Monet, I can assure you, but I enjoy painting. And in a way, like if you're a knitter or do embroidery, I think this is a great time to kind of nurture our creativity, because our creativity is so good for us and it makes us feel so good within ourselves. So I think it's a time for maybe to write long letters to our friends, make telephone calls, keep in touch with our friends that way. So hopefully all this will pass and things will be well again. Good luck, everybody.
Alice Taylor. Make you think about walking through the fields to school and all of that, wouldn't it? But for the moment, let us talk to our studio guest, Dr. Con. You're retired. When did you retire?
The end of December, Bibi. I've been planning it for a number of years. So time was moving on, and I had a son who was able to take over my patients. So,
Did you? Well, that was a wonderful bit of timing, if you ask me, all done neatly before COVID.
well, some of them suggested I knew it was coming, but that's not true. But it was nice to be able to hand them over
Yeah.
to someone I knew.
And how have you found this retirement and also the restrictions of the COVID times?
I found it difficult, to be honest with you.
Did you?
Yeah. Say, I did an interview in the early days of COVID, and I said, people need to watch their mental health. Little
Yeah.
did I know I was talking about myself.
Is that a fact?
I did get anxious and
And
strained.
is it okay to ask you if it's not too personal? You're a medical person, you have all that science in your head and you have an understanding of it. What made you anxious?
Doesn't make much difference, really.
Really?
I missed my patients. I missed the routine of work. I missed being cocooned. I wasn't meeting anyone. So I went from being a real people person to meeting no one. So myself and my wife were cocooned at home with my 3 sons calling and waving in through the window. And it was a bit of a shock to the system, to say the least.
So I gather that from that experience you would say it's one thing to be a people person and to have a very active life in your job and retire. But then if you retire at the time of COVID, it's another layer, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've met none of my patients since, apart from the only people I meet. A lot of the former Cork players have been very good contacting me to go for walks, which I find helpful. And
so is that one of the tactics you've used to help with the anxiety?
Yes.
To get out and walk. Can you
Yeah.
tell us just a little more about that?
yeah, I meet someone different most days. I go for a drive with my wife as well. I go for a walk with her as well. So I've been doing more walking than I used to. But I also missed out on the Cork hurling and football team training. We stopped training for a long time, and I missed that social contact as well. So I went from the sublime to the ridiculous in terms of numbers.
But how are you doing now?
Much better now.
Much better now.
Teams are back training. I'm meeting more people. I think we could be in for a shock on Friday, but fingers crossed it won't last long.
Fingers crossed, that's all we can do at the moment. Yeah. Interesting, though, that you find the walking and the talking a very good combination.
Very good.
Walk and talk. Yeah. That's the mantra I'm going to take away from you.
Have to keep in touch with people.
And keep in touch as well.
Yeah.
Niall, what do you think about that, the physical exercise side?
Well, absolutely. There's lots of scientific data to show that physical activity can help lots of different aspects of our lives, and physical activity is one of the main pillars of the Healthy Ireland framework. And the main thing is that physical exercise literally can change the way you feel. So when we exercise, we get an increase in body chemicals such as endorphins and serotonin, and these are shown to help us even when we're not exercising. It can help us get some better sleep. It can even help support our immune system. So many different benefits to exercising.
And they're the happy hormones, aren't they, to us lay people?
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
So you would absolutely advocate getting out there and doing some walking, but what if you're frail? What happens then?
Yeah, well, it's really just doing the right type of exercise for your ability and for your interests as well. It's really important to do something that you enjoy, because if you're doing something you're not enjoying, then you probably won't keep it up. So whatever you enjoy doing, keep doing that. And there are lots of different levels, for example.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold it right there. You're going to solve a whole situations for me, because once again I've been asked to join in this discussion, not just ask the questions. Find the exercise you can enjoy. I have lived the last number of years of my life, since I stopped being a hotelier in India, on a sofa studying and learning and writing and so enjoying myself. But of course, everybody, all the medics I know now are saying, come on, Baskin, get out and do a bit of exercise. I can't find any exercise I enjoy. What am I going to do?
Keep searching.
Can I tell you one of the things that I found most helpful was Ray and O'Shea had a 15-minute slot on the Dahi and Mara show today on RTE1 in the afternoons. So for 15 minutes, Ray showed us what we should do. And I found it excellent. It was on every day. I'd love to have him back again.
That might be a good idea, but also we can find it online. We could find it on the RTE player, but also there would be other things that we can find
Yeah, that's
online.
what it was called. Ray and O'Shea.
All right.
O'Shea being Dahi, obviously.
Of course, Dahi, Kinta. Niall, I do a few kind of very ugly-looking squats and lunges indoors where I don't have an audience and nobody can see me. I mean, you want to see the cut of me. I'm just out of practice. It's years since I exercised. Are there any other little things you would recommend?
Well, there's so many different resources out there that are available. Particularly the Cork Sports Partnership are doing remarkable work. They're an award-winning organisation, and they have some great resources online to their active communities initiatives. So that's a place I will definitely recommend people to go to because it incorporates exercise for all ages.
Now, what about breathing? I'm the devil for doing these Indian-influenced breathing things, and I'm good at doing that. And I feel with the threat of COVID hanging over us, it's very good to do something that builds up resistance in your lungs. So I do a thing about every 5 days out of 7. You know, I don't like routine at all. And I would also say to anybody watching, if you want to take on something and you're not that pushed about it, don't say to yourself, I'm going to do it every day for 7 days. That's hell on wheels for me. Set yourself a nice cozy figure, like 5 out of 7. So 5 out of 7, I do pranayama, it's called. It's alternate nostril breathing. You can get it online again and you can check it out. What would you think about that one?
Absolutely. You know, there's so many different types of breathing techniques, and they're all beneficial, even when it comes to just trying to calm us down when we're coming up towards a stressful situation or something good to do every day, and even doing it for a couple of minutes. Even something like just breathing a little bit deeper than we normally would. It just helps us to calm down the mind, and it's just good to get more oxygen into the body as well. Even like a simple box breath, just inhaling just through as normal, not alternative nostrils, just inhaling for 4 seconds, holding it for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding that for 4 as well. Very simple box breath. To do that for 3 or 4 minutes has lots of benefits for lots of different people.
It does, and I do mine in the early morning. I think it's lovely to do it in the early morning when nature is at its best and you almost have this intimate relationship with nature. It's like you own the world because there's nobody else around. Well, you just feel that way. And I do it in the outdoors. I think that's a lovely thing to do as well. If it's raining, you know what? It's Ireland. It's going to rain. There's a yoke called an umbrella. Stop being so soft. Get out there. I'm telling myself as well, by the way. So, Dr. Conn, tell me now, on an average day, what do you do?
What do I do? I get up early.
What sort of time do you get up?
9 o'clock.
9?
Yeah.
I get up at 5. Get out of it.
I get up at 9, I read the Examiner,
Yeah.
have breakfast, go for a drive, then I go for a walk.
And on the breakfast front, as a doctor, would you rate a good breakfast as being very important?
I would. It's very important you have something. Doesn't have to be a full Irish or anything.
I was wondering, would it be? Would you have the old Irish, no?
I usually have tea and toast.
Tea and toast.
Simply.
Then after you go for the drive, you go for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your view on taking a nap during the day?
I suppose I see nothing wrong with it, but it's something I'm not able to do myself. You know, I'm probably watching more television than I've been used to.
That is a deathly trap.
Yeah.
And of course, I shouldn't be saying anything negative about television because I used to work in it. But, excuse me, it's all too easy to watch Come Dine With Me, or would you watch Richard Attenborough?
I would, but I wouldn't watch anything scary.
Dr. Conn, you're getting soft in your retirement.
Has to be happy endings for
Happy
me.
ending. Oh, well, I
Or
would...
old matches.
Old matches you would enjoy so much,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I would always go for the happy ending one before I go to bed. There is no way I would watch something spooky
Yeah.
in the evening. Would
I'd
you
agree
agree
with
with that, Niall?
Absolutely, it's all about how it makes you feel. I suppose you'll bring it on with you. You know, it could affect your night's sleep. In fact, so
It does.
yeah.
Do you have any particular tips for a good night's sleep?
Well, I think having a good sleep routine is really important, and trying to reduce the amount of blue screen, like TV or phone activity, leading up to bedtime is important, and having just the right environment as well. You know, if some people prefer to have, you know, darkened rooms and that, and it can be beneficial as well. So, and I think having the same routine every night can be very beneficial.
I'd like to add that I wouldn't watch all the programs on television about COVID.
You wouldn't watch, that's worth
No.
repeating, you wouldn't watch all the
I wouldn't
programs
recommend
about
it.
COVID.
I mean, I think people should be aware of what's going on, aware of how they're supposed to act, aware how things are changing. But if you watch everything that's on television, it'll just scare the life out of you.
Saturation point and scare the life
Yeah.
out of you. We don't need all that, do we, Niall, really? You know, I find if you discipline yourself to listen to the news maybe in the morning, once again in the evening, that's enough. What do you think,
Absolutely.
Niall?
I think if there's something we really need to know about, we'll find out pretty quickly.
Yes.
Or else we'll hear from a loved one
I'd
what's
agree.
really important. So absolutely, stay informed, but we don't need to be looking at it all day, every day.
And if you had to single out one particular activity, one thing to do, one mindset to have that will help everybody to get through these tough times, could you single out one thing, Niall?
I think for a very small thing, I think it goes back to your breathing, Bibi, just taking a deep breath. Especially at the moment, we may even see some of that news that we might be watching a little too much of, and we find ourselves getting into maybe a stress state. So just taking a deep breath can be very beneficial.
I'm hoping to do a little thing on social media starting next week. I haven't got it done yet, but a guided meditation. And I would teach a little bit of breathing just from my own experience. I'm not some huge, big medically qualified person. And I'm hoping that would work. Because I think having lived in the Eastern world for 15 years, I learned that breathing is very, very much more important than we generally have recognized it to be here in the Western world. So I take on board what you're saying, and thank you for that, Niall. And Dr. Cohn, no scary movies for you, dear. Just none at all. But thank you both very much indeed for coming in to us today.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Well, there we leave our panellists for today. I do hope you've enjoyed this time with us. We're not quite done yet, you know. We have another wonderful musical piece for you. It's called All of the Days, and it's the brand new single from Cork singer and songwriter Fiona Kennedy. Until we meet again, go J. Slán, Fiona.
All of the days, all of the nights, counting the hours, all of those times. I'm missing you every single day. A rush of blood to the head, they say. Time, precious time, is drifting away like the drip to a stream, to a strong rolling wave. Jump on board and sail into the sun. Let's change our course and let it run. And if all that time came back to us, would we be sure to use it well? If we could only see what could have been, my eyes can see it all. All of the days, all of the nights, all of the times we say goodbye. All of those long lost lonely days, please let it end someday. future may hold. Trust in me now, fortune favors the bold. I'm staying true to all our midnight dreams, the things we whisper before we fall asleep. And if all that time came back to us, would we be sure to use it well? If we could only see what could have been, my eyes can see it all. All of the days, all of the nights, all of the times we say goodbye, all of those long lost lonely days, please let it end someday. All of the days, all of the nights, all of the times we say goodbye, all of those long lost lonely days, please let it end someday. Please let it end someday. Someday.